Welcome to another exciting episode of Gem Collectors with Shawn. I am that Shawn, always ready and ready to, I don't know, it feels like just another conversation with a bunch of fellow hobbyists. Since the age of 11, this is really all I've known as a hobby and been able to make a living doing that. Can't really, doesn't get much better than that, does it? Well, unless I took up fishing for a hobby and get to speed around on a bass boat with a bunch of sponsors making lots of money fishing, that might beat this, yeah. But but a fisherman only goes treasure hunting for one type of thing, right? The biggest fish he can find. Well, for me, I get to treasure hunt, metal detect, uh, gold prospect, and not only do I love to fish, so I can do all those things with my fishing gear, which I used to call them combo trips. So I'd load the front bucket up of my small Kubota that I had, and I would put my dredge. I had a portable backpacking dredge, but then I also had one that I had an electric pump, and I could either run it off the battery I had with it, or what was great is the diesel motor on my Kubota. I could idle it all the way down to where it was really quiet, and it operated basically. I could operate it like a generator. So, you know, uh, I and then I would take well, because the area, as a matter of fact, I always take a sidearm with me. And the area I prospect, it's definitely needed. And as a matter of fact, Raven was putting bird food in the bird feeders, and she just walked back in the house. She goes, "There's a bear underneath our porch," and so we just calmly all walk out and look. And that time, he had caught on that we had caught on to him, and he was walking into the woods. And it's why, if I would just simply open the back door downstairs, I would have just stepped right in to the bear. He was down there getting some seed that had fallen from the bird feeders above. But we also know that he can go right up those 4x4 posts like he was a squirrel. So for that reason, and in the wilds, so I always take that. Plus, I like to recreationally just be honest, go shooting. I've done it ever since I've been a rock hound, really. So, fishing pole, metal detector, gold sluice, weaponry of different kinds, and spend the whole day gone. Just be gone the entire day. And, come across a creek, do some fishing, do some panning. It was just a lot of fun. No restrictions. And, yeah, so there's so much joy that the hobby of rock hunting and prospecting can bring you, and you just don't have to focus on that. You can, you know, do other things as you're doing that. The metal detecting part has really led me, and I brought in and shown some of you those different treasures that I found, some upwards of 4 feet deep, because I'm in an old original gold mining community from 1828 when there was the gold rush in our neck of the woods in North Georgia, so to speak. So lots of fun to be had. Okay, so everyone, I hope you had a great Father's Day. Um, I know this is the day after that you're seeing this, but nevertheless, remember your father every day. And yeah, my son happened to be quite a long ways away from me, but with these modern days of communication, you can just look at them like they were just right down the street. So happy Father's Day to all you dads and to be dads. Now, let's see. No trivia, remember. So that's going to speed up. We have a couple comments that I'm going to read, and you feel free to send in comments all you want and or questions and whatever else is on your mind in related to our hobby and the industry. Yeah, the industry. That's another conversation to be had. Biggest thing in the industry, lab diamonds versus earth mine. Those of you who have been buying up the earth mine diamonds from me that I have been selling at a fraction, they're breakout diamonds, remember. These are diamonds that I've gotten from breaking down unusable jewelry or broken jewelry. So I have a lower cost in them. Other than that, if I went out to the market to try to buy them, even in the wholesale market, they would be 3 times what I've been offering them here on this show. So there's somebody out there, a couple of you that have been buying up the diamonds and were very wise to you. Keep watching this spot because I have some more I'm going to be selling as well. Um, there's even a Yehuda diamond. I wish I would sell it, but we're limited unless maybe I thought about doing it another way, because there's a term you're going to see that I had created and starting to use on certain different items, products that I'm offering, and it's edugems. So you're going to see a couple of edugem parcels, and what I mean by an edugem, edu gem, is and I totally made that word up, so don't go looking for it. Is a gemstone that brings you a level of education you normally wouldn't get. So when we come across the parcel, you'll see that, and what I mean by that. So that is part of in not doing the trivia. We're going to be able to talk about some other things, some other educational moments, and I'm going to create some educational parcels or gemstones. Like the one I can remember last, that was definitely one that I kept around for a long time. I even had lesson stone written on it, and I eventually sold it. Was that sapphire that was amazing blue looking at it from above, but looking at it from its side, the cutter did an incredible job because there was only a little bit of natural blue, and that's why that sapphire may very well be even not heated, because it didn't alter the blue. The blue was right at the very bottom of the culet. And the way it was cut, it radiated through the entire stone. You could have bezel set that stone, and no one would be the wiser that it was zoned in and cut the way that it was. So that was a really educational piece to be able to understand and see that your gemstone may, depending on how good the cutter is, may only have a little bit of that beautiful blue in actuality, and as opposed to being it spread throughout the gem. And I think that that's a really wise thing for everyone to see, that that's a possibility. And another reason why it's always helpful to buy a stone that is not bezel set, either that or that is certified, and either that or you buy it loose. Okay, so let's get going. And I have my Galena geodes. We'll see if we get to that story. I have to be able to still turn red, embarrass myself, and, and humble myself to, yeah, it is my reminder that no matter how much you think you know, you don't know it all. And that there's always someone, because I have come from a place of an honest soul, an honest high road, uh, was raised that way. So I tend to believe and think that the whole world operates that way, right? Everybody has that level of ethics and morals, right? No, it took me losing a lot of different money, a lot of different times, and trusting far too many people. So this was a lesson that, for all the knowledge in the world that I had, a fellow in Morocco was able to scam me in an amazing, amazing way, in a way I never would have thought possible, and for not a lot of money, but relative to his world, it would have been. So anyway, we'll see if we get to that. If not, I certainly teased you towards that aspect. Okay, let's get to the comments. We just have two. One from Miss Cindy, who, by the way, supplied that link for the Cash and Treasure show. And what I wanted to, once I got looking at the link and saw the length of time, so those shows were an hour long, and about half and half was divided up between the production crew and the host, Becky Worley, who is still on ABC's Good Morning America as the tech guru, uh, going to Jackson Crossroads mine in Georgia. And if you're familiar with amethyst at all, and especially familiar with Georgia mining at all, Jackson's Crossroads is like the big deal here in the state, along with Graves Mountain. But for a gem, something of a gemstone value, amethyst, and for some of the finest amethyst, really, it ranks at the top. Some of the finest, with the finest from any place in the world, along with beautiful clusters and everything. So it has a grand reputation. So the crew dug and did their, cash and treasures thing. Then they brought it to me that I worked out of sometimes worked out of a year-round tourist business. It was gold and gem grubbing, and a legitimate panning operation on the old Loud Bottom claim in Georgia, but they offered buckets you could buy that were salted. In other words, their material was put in the buckets. And I really, actually, if you've got kids, recommend that. Believe it or not, I'm a purist. I would never normally recommend salted buckets. They even have gold buckets that my sister got hung up on, thinking that they were actually going to find. And God bless her soul, rest her soul. My younger sister, who passed away a few years ago, but she and her family enjoyed it so much that they actually, though, ended up believing that they were going to find more gold in the bucket than what it cost. And just keep in mind that those operations are great, but I know the inside of how those things work. And as long as you're disclosed that you're buying a bucket that's salted, that, in other words, the gold has been put in the bucket and the gemstones have been put in the bucket. No, you don't find opal in a North Georgia gemstone bucket of native material. So, and the gold, no matter the value of bucket that you buy, you're still going to find less value of gold than you paid. But it is fun, and if you look at it from a fun recreational point of view, and you do end up really with genuine gold, and you come away with that memory, and you can do something with that gold that you actually panned out of that bucket, and teaches you panning as well. So then that's all fine and good. And part of it was cutting your stones that you found. So anyway, that's how I got involved as being a gem cutter and working with that show. But in what I noticed, there was only 12 minutes to the show. The show was an hour long, so that little clip was only 12 minutes. So it was heavily edited. So whoever put that up on the internet, maybe that's how they standardly do it. So to save space, time, whatever it may be, and still promote a situation like that. I'm going to look for the whole clip, and I may be able to get it through going to goldandgemgrubbing.com, and they may actually have the entire clip on their website. I know if you go in their little their mining shack, that also is a little jewelry store, that I'm up all over their walls, being a big part of that show, which after it aired, let me tell you the power of a Travel Channel show. It literally told me because it reran, and that actual show is one of the rare ones from way back when that could rerun. Everything is still in place. You can get your gems cut at Golden Gem Grubbing. You can go to Jackson's Crossroads and mine amethyst. So many of them, things change to where the businesses aren't still in place, or you're maybe not allowed to hunt ginseng in a particular place anymore that was advertised previously, etc. So it reran a few times after that, so within the year. But he ended up telling me that it made him millions. The publicity that show brought in. He also had a beautiful campground, and he worked with rescue animals, a lot of them, so much so that Purina actually donated food to him and helped him out, and yeah, many. So really a good soul, genuine gold bearing property, mined previously, wonderful operation setup though. Why I say if you have kids, because I'm one of those kids that if my parents would not have gone to a salted mine in the Cowee Valley in the year 1972, I would not have found that 60-carat ruby that was worth $1 million to me. And that's exactly what I told my parents, that I have $1 million ruby. I have $1 million ruby. I want to learn how to cut it. The excitement never ended. The whole trip driving 12 hours back to Sarasota, Florida, they immediately found a very well-known cutter, even to this day, working in the back of a, remember, this is hippie time, 1972, on the back of a very custom jewelry store in a very, very wealthy area of St. Armand Circle out of Lido Beach. And the rest is history. If we would have gone, and since I'd been to, of course, the native bucket mines, unless you really know what you're looking for, you're not going to find a native ruby or sapphire. Certainly not a ruby. You think your red would stand out. If you're going to find anything red, it's going to be a garnet, mostly sillimanite, some little kyanites. And you can find sapphires. I found most of them at the end of the flue line, where I could pick them out from the ones that, and this by the time I was like 13 or 14, that the tourists would let, go as they dumped their buckets into the flue line. And I did it so successfully that nicely the owners finally, they got to know this little boy, and they said, "Listen, we didn't think we thought you were harmless to start with, but you're doing exactly what we do. We reprocess the material, because remember, it's native material. We reprocess it, and we just didn't think that you'd be able to find them either, like the rest of everybody. But we see that you've gotten really good at it." And they were nice about it, so I had to quit doing that. Because that's what they were doing, was reprocessing the gravel, because they were that hard to spot. So I would have never found that big. And why I say Karnataka is the place in India where you can still find those large rubies, except they're much harder to find. And if I wouldn't have found something so big, so impressive looking, and it was, that reddish purple color, and had a perfect crystal form to it, like you can find, I couldn't actually believe that they were able to afford to put the buckets. The buckets were like $5. Now, this is 1972, but, that was, of course, still $5. No, actually, I think I remember $3 or $4 a bucket. But the money's worth of stuff they put in it, it seemed to be well worth it to a little boy. So that's why I say, for a family, so that the kids aren't bored, give them something to find. Go to a salted mine. When you get good at knowing what to look for the native stones, then you can challenge yourself and go to a native-only mine that they have out in Cowie Valley. Not as many as there used to be, though. There's just not the material, but the rubies are still in Cowie Valley. They're just underneath homes and all, where the river over time meandered back and forth. And geologically, that's all they really were mostly an alluvial deposit throughout the valley there. Okay, let's get to those couple of mentions here. So the first one was about Cindy and about the whole message. So Cindy, I got your resend, and I think I got the complete thing, but part of the message was in a really lighter color. I think they do it intentionally for some reason. But as far as the link goes, I got everything, so I appreciate that. So Cindy goes on to say, "Hello, Rock family. Excellent show. I look forward to the educational segments you have planned. I will miss trivia simply for the brain exercise. I understand your reasons for pausing it. I am thrilled to be the winner of the Arkansas Chicken Night." That's the nickname we have given the the mud cake specimens that Karen was so kind. Thank you, and Karen, for being so generous. That she actually dug herself in Magnet Cove, Arkansas. I've never been so impressed with some goods that were found like that. Just throw us a random question sometimes to keep us on our toes, okay? No prizes needed. Come on in, people. We won't bite. We need to keep Shawn on. And yes, you do. Things are always challenging, especially in an industry where it's more about wants than needs. Now, rocks and minerals are different than jewelry. You need rocks and minerals more. So only because I walk in and I'm not a metaphysical person when it comes to rocks and minerals, but without a doubt, both Raven and I are energized every time we walk in and are surrounded by our goodies. And I don't mean energized by the R word, minerals. Sold off most of those to, what happened to Matt, I think, the guy that bought the Geiger counter. So he was collecting fluorescent minerals. And but people come and go through the show. A lot of them, though, end up so busy. They love to watch and participate, but they don't always have time to write the comments or write trivia. So that's why we're pausing it until maybe we'll try that again. But I do like the one of my's, and we're going to do some more of those along the way. I've already started gathering some specimens that are interesting and different for that. And I will give away always a prize for the one of my winners. One day we're going to get a perfect score. We all love the rocks, minerals, gems, science, geology, etc. that Shawn shares each week. Let's share our love with each other. We need it, especially in the world today. Amen, sister. Have a great week. Look forward to next week's show. Cindy in South Central Pennsylvania. Thank you there, Miss Cindy. Penny and Mahalis says, and they are from Quebec. Hello, Shawn, the very lovely Raven, amazing GSN crew, and fellow rockhounds. I hope this finds everyone well. It's unfortunate that you eliminated trivia, but I do understand your point. Although winning was wonderful, the ability to challenge myself, my memory, and my attention span, which not the greatest, she puts, was the best part of the trivia. Unfortunately, without the trivia, it means that I will probably be more distracted while watching and completely lost when you hit us with a pop quiz. I never did like those pop quizzes. Thanks for another great show. Faves of the week, the incredible Girthite after Marcasite. Thank you for saying that. I thought that was an amazing specimen. I didn't see where it is sold yet, so someone really should get that. The Amethyst specimens and the Cavensite piece. The $58 Amethyst specimen, second one shown, when turned in one direction, looks like a bull. You're not the only one that sees things in the specimens. That's funny, because I had Christy, the keeper, or the Christie keeper, as Mr. Brad calls her. She keeps in charge of the inventory. She actually, on that particular piece, sent me the screenshot of it, and she said, look, she referenced it and told me who bought it. And look, she said, the dragon sold. She saw it as a dragon because it had the two calcites like that, and the angle of the picture she sent me, it did look like a dragon. And it's funny, because I hadn't even talked about that. So we're all looking at these pieces, even Christy, and so I had told her that because I had read your comment that what you saw it as. So we'll see as to who the lucky person that bought the piece, what they see in it as well. Now, if you remember, I asked, because she's in Quebec, Miss Penny. So I had heard from mostly people that go fishing up there that and fishing shows. Remember, I like to fish. I haven't done it in a long time, but I like to. And every time I see them going into Canada like that, and then she goes super far north, they talk about the biting flies, okay? The biting flies. So I asked her about that, if that was much of a problem where she was. Because remember, if you have ever flown, like one time, to Thailand, the connection was through South Korea. A lot of people don't realize now, when you travel long distance like that, remember the world is round in every different direction. So when you fly, you don't fly like in a straight line, due to the curvature of the earth, and for different reasons in flight paths. Well, this particular route took us up over northern Canada and up over the Alaskan range. And I tell you what, I would have paid money to get the view of that plane, what that plane took, and the weather. It was perfect. And of course, window seat. I could see out so well, and I remember just filming it as the airplane. And funny day to talk about big flight in an airplane due to this morning's news, but the view over the Alaskan range was stupendous. It was, it was amazing. I tracked it later to see exactly where the track of the plane went, and boy, it was. I didn't realize, for one, how large Alaska was. Second, that how majestic. I mean, to me, it looked like the Himalayas. But what it also told me was, if you are lost or even a plane crashes, how you can completely lose a plane in the extensive mountain ranges like that. Just disappear. It was just crazy how expansive and how long. it took to fly over that range. And there's a lot of territory out there. But Canada, back to Canada. All right. So the geology nut in me, I'm thinking when I'm flying over Canada, I'm thinking geology, geology, of course. And it wasn't that long ago in geological terms. And the number of them over time was the other thing. Glaciers, glaciation. So glaciers, if you watch, in geologic time, they have, moved further south, receded, gone back and forth numerous times. It's a cycle. And it has left Canada pockmarked with lakes. I'm telling you what, I bet there's lakes in Canada that have never been fished because there's that many of them. All right, so lots of water, and I see why they're such a huge timber producer because water and trees, water and trees. All right, so that my question was about the bugs. Here is her answer. Bugs are not lacking up here. Due to all the rain and standing water this year, we have tons of mosquitoes, and with one warm day, they become as big as black flies. As for black flies, with all the greenery and wooded areas we have in the city, they are still present, but not as many. It being a relative thing, I think. However, drive less than 45 minutes outside the city in any direction, and the black flies are plentiful and large enough to eat a horse. And I doubt that the flies would fill up. Wow, that's great. And that is exactly the answer that I expected, and I appreciate that you didn't give me some flowery Chamber of Commerce type answer because I knew that black flies, you see people in nets and all covered up in the summertime. They'll eat you up. And I have been to Quebec, so I can say that. But it wasn't in an issue. And I was in the old city. There was not much greenery around there, and high up above the St. Lawrence River. So, but I could see where due to the immense amount of number of water and like you said in the greenery where it and if there's water and it was water in kind of bog environments, probably lots of Vivianite out there, just don't know about it. So yeah, thanks for that answer, and a great one. And so it just puts a new meaning to rock hunting, right? Everything there is a price. Around here, you have to watch your back for bears. Up there, it's black flies. I'll take the bears. Okay, that is it for now. Mahalis and I wish everyone a wonderful weekend. Hope to see you next week, Penny and Mahalis. And, keep us up on Mahalis. He's what a great kid. We watched him grow up to be an amazing, not even a young man. He's a man. He's a man, and I'm glad you have him at the house. Okay, so no trivia to give away. All we have to do is, you know what? Let's go straight to the show. Let's start the show. And the first time, check these out. Check these out. I have not shown you anything quite like these before. This is a matched pair of wonderful, they start off as ammonites, and you can see they're polished. Now, what happens, let me get mine. What happens is, let me push those aside. This is what it looks like. All right, so then they're sawed down the middle. Now, the creature, this belongs to cephalopod. So the creature has little tentacles that come out this way, and it moves through the water and controls its buoyancy through what's called a siphuncle that connects all these, openings, what look like openings now. Now, the fossilization process takes place, and when it does, if there's enough time, let me get my pointer here, they will completely fill up with calcite. And you can see these fill up. But as you go further, now this one was just sediment that happened to make its way into that chamber. These others, you have calcite. It's calcite that is filling up, and those are usually calcite crystals in all of those. And yeah, here's the other neat thing to it. If you put a fluorescent light to this, the calcite fluoresces, beautiful fluorescence surrounding all and each of these pockets. So that really adds a a bonus look to it. Now, here's the other thing, and this is, I could have put you, this could be an educational actual fossil because there's other things on this that it teaches you. And one of them is where amylite, the gemstone, comes from. Because if I can orient the light correctly here, you can see, look at the wonderful reds, look at all these other colors coming out of this piece, depending on the angle I turn it. Look at those colors in here. Yeah, yeah. And yeah, some beautiful colors. So this is your amylite. It was officially made a gemstone. And this other side, let's see, I think, yep, there we go. We have some on this side as well. And look at that. That is your amylite. Of course, this is Madagascar material. The finest does come from Canada and the well-known formation that produces the world's finest. These usually are a little bit older than the Canada formation. Now, the other cool thing that I actually noticed, which might have been an error when they were polishing this, but it is a perfect, and why I said this is perfect for a lesson stone. Have you ever seen these when they have what's called the suture lines? Now, what's happened is this exterior layer, which, by the way, in the process of fossilization, it turns from a more of a calcite into another version of calcite called aragonite. And there's the different layers of aragonite that create the diffraction of light, giving you the gemstone amylite. Now, when this outer, what's that? Oh, yeah, sorry about that. That would help. Let me put that down right there for a moment. And that item number is 1269225. And so they polished through a little too far, but it revealed exactly, and this is the only one I've ever found. I wish they would do it to more of them. It's perfect because these are the suture lines. This is actually how scientists can tell different. This is probably a Cleonoceras, by the way, for the variety of ammonite that it is. But they could tell from these suture designs and marks what type of ammonite many of them are from this pattern. And this emulates from the chambers, the separation of the chambers and how they are formed is what creates those lines like that. Very dendritic looking. And I've had others that this is all completely polished off and all it does is show the suture lines. And that is really neat in itself. So this is, it won't come with the stands, but you can see it displayed well in the stands. And this is an entire fossil. The other neat thing, when you have the sedimentary material that fills in like here, it often has additional fossils in it. And you can see small shell fossils within that, which is kind of an extra bonus. Wow, look at those colors. All right, so this is, and you can see, oh, there's another place where the suture lines come through right there and on the edge right there. So this is a real nice tell-all package in these two pieces. And the price on these both, believe it or not, only $28. $28 for those. Yeah, I know. $28. This is going to be the day of bargains. Okay, so let me tuck those away and I'll be right back with the official start of the show. I have been saving this one, set it aside. It's one of those that's, we were trying to get it to where you could actually see the colors of the chlorite. This is a really unique quartz specimen. It is, even from here with my eyes, very easy to be able to tell that the stalk on this particular piece, which I thought was like maybe one of the Pakistani brookites and whatnot. No, it didn't turn out to be such. Is actually chlorite. It's actually chlorite. So it's a stalk of chlorite that's red, and the very end of it is green, which the red and green chlorite you can often see. I may have a cabochon later in the show. You're going to get to see it has some chlorite colors. They come in a lot of different colors like that. And chlorite is a generalized name for a big family of related type of minerals. And so that is really unique and interesting in that one. Now, look at these sidecar crystals you have of the quartz as well, adding to the uniqueness. Then I love this particular crystal right here that a lot of people might call it full of sand. I think it's actually just all chlorite and quartz in this piece. So this is, and you can see how well defined it still is. And I have not checked these other crystals for other fun things. I give it a quick once over because, oh, I used to always go in hydro searching, and that was taking up so much of my time to find the occasional in hydro, but they exist. They exist in these specimens when you don't think that you would find one. Just search them all and take your time with magnification, moving it back and forth and looking at it from different angles. And all of a sudden, you might see that little bubble shift, something different, look, that moves, and then you found a really neat treasure. So you can see there's other quartz crystals around this piece. Let's see, the base of this is more quartz, another couple well-defined crystals there. But look at those angles. You can see that chlorite and quartz way down in there, actually through the window, pretty well into that. Yeah, maybe can we see? I'm looking on that. That's pretty neat as we go down inside there. That's the neat thing about quartz is the surfaces can provide a window into the stone. And let me see. And then look at how unusual. Oh, look at that. Oh, I like it when that happens. That means that can be wiped off, whatever that is. And boy, there we go. Well, I'm going to leave that to someone at home, but you can see that is a surface. Remember, this cannot scratch that. Difference in hardness, so don't worry about me doing that. Clean this up. Clean this up at home, and you'll have something even more magnificent than it is. If you collect quartz, you want this specimen. Crystals are in great shape, and it has a really unique inclusion along with other crystals as well. Price on this guy, it's also an unbelievable. This is what today is going to be about. Some unbelievable opportunities. I have a lot of new items. 21 bucks on that. Only $21. All right. Now, next, do we have Chuck in the house yet? I came across another neat little find. And this is for, maybe a before and after. Now, like I know Anthony has scooped up really wisely on many of the incredible, I won't tell you, let me give you the item number. Item number 1269025. 1269025. And welcome, Chuck. Okay, so let me show you. I came across this parcel I had of fire agates. And let me probably put those on, get those off of there. Let me try those right here. And might be a little bit easier to see what we're looking at, or look what we're seeing at, something like that. All right, now, these have been tumbled, and these are from the world famous locality of Slaughter Mountain. I love the name. Slaughter Mountain in Arizona. And it is known for the finest in fire agate. Fire agate, variety of chalcedony, often colored by limonite. So as we look into these pieces, I love this particular one. Even if they may not have the botryoidal formation for the that you look for the beautiful iridescent colors, they still, and like this piece, look at how unique that is with the clear chalcedony and then the fire agate colors around it. So you look into it being tumbled, easier to see. When these are rough, it would be really difficult to actually find what I am looking for in these. And like I said, if you've got, if one of these had a really nice area of color display, let's say, you'd be tempted to cut it up for that if you're a cutter. If not, and you have some nice cut gemstones with that play of color, then it'd be neat to find a specimen of what something would look like before without paying a fortune for it because it has a play of color. So we're looking for something in here that might show you what type of display of botryoidal formation, but yet not be all those valuable colors. So it would be a lesson. There we go. Right there it is. Right there is some of what we're looking for. You can see that botryoidal reflection. And if you hadn't actually don't know what to look for in the fire agates, that is what you look for. Right all along there, you have some of that nice, desirable pattern that can often reveal a lot of other colors. You can see that bubbly pattern right there also. That's what you look for. So that these, as far as all the different colors, look at that. I mean, that would make a nice cabochon right there, even if it wasn't fire grit. Look at that. Even just left like that, wire wrap that, that's a beautiful piece. Or again, it is a, there we go. Look at that neat little bubbly pattern, which is what, again, you look for. And I will leave exploring these a little closer for the rest of you. Look at that. That has some great natural carnelian colors to it. And here is another one that you never know. If you cut into it further, you might open it up to other patterns, just kind of like an opal. Anyway, that's a fun, nice group to have to put in a display. Or again, for an educational parcel so that you can learn what fire agate looks like as opposed to other agates. This is great for that. When you consider especially that all of those, everything you see, $15. Told you this was a special day, $15 on those. Now, I know, Latif. Latif needs to be my financial manager. 126-8025. 126-8025. This came up next. It was perfect item because it just takes care of what we just talked about in regards to cabochons and in regards to chlorite in quartz. So let me clear these off the deck. Sorry for the sound effects there. And now I'm going to show you those in just a moment. Let me turn these over to the boss lady. Now, here is, let me get my tweezers. All right, first this one. That's easy. Tourmalated quartz. Yep, that is incredible. Tourmaline needles in quartz, making it. And now, listen, don't be fooled. This could be anything from rutile to goethite to hematite. Could be all kinds of other actinolite, different minerals that are found in quartz. But how do I make the claim of tourmaline? I found one. I looked at it from the end, which you can do with just simple magnification. And you see the triangular shape to the crystal. Pretty much you can stop right there and be assured that it is going to be Shawn, or, black tourmaline. Now this one shows you exactly the colors that chlorite can be found in, as well as green. Now, green is your moss agate. Remember those bowls last week? That was green chlorite in agate. So you can see these, oh my gosh. I tell you what, Latif remembers the day when I used to offer these and they were carved. And incredible carvings, I don't know, were carved in the back of them. And how the carver did things in reverse like that, and it come out like it looked like, mermaids in a some of them were, it seemed like mermaids in what looks like a coral reef, which a lot of chlorite in these cabs look like that. It was just incredible that what you can do with something as relatively inexpensive as chlorite and quartz and turn them into little works of art, truly works of art. Um, yeah, we sold so many of them, and those of you who got in on those from back in the day, you got to have something really special. I don't have any of them. The only one that does is Summer, because Raven had given her daughter some of those. Let me show you now while we're on this an item 126. Oh, sorry about that. That would help. I tell you what, I was afraid to give you the price because of you fussing at me, but I'll go ahead and take the fussing. By the way, there's a label for another item. Here is, oh, these two, what is it, 12.75? Hold on, let's see. So one is 12.75, the other is 10.97. So we have like 23 carats or something, $28. $28 for both. That's like $1.50 a carat. That would be about what they cost me to replace them. $28. Now, this next item, I better write that on here myself. Okay, so this next item goes well with those. It is item number 1267925. 1267925. Let me show you something really neat. And I tell you what, over time, and it's been a lot of time since I had gotten these, I cannot believe how much moonstone has gone up in price. Moonstone has gone crazy in price. And even from my cheapy sites that I go to, I couldn't believe it. It's on average about $20 a carat for moonstone, blue moonstone, not even the rainbow multicolor stuff. This, look at this. Let me show you. This is from the Bihar area of India. Do not, if you hear India, don't think it's something cheap, inexpensive, whatnot. No. Now, fine moonstone can come from just about anywhere. New Mexico has some amazing stones. Now, this is super old stock. Let me show you. Look at the amount of adularescence. Yep. Adularescence from the word adularia, which is one of the type of moonstones there is. Now, normally I think they say orthoclase is the moonstone feldspar. Remember, there's as many different type of feldspars as there is garnets for the most part. Plagioclase is the type of feldspar that gives you labradorite. So there is a lot of different intermingling as well. So what creates this adularescence in moonstone is actually inner layers of two varieties of feldspar, of moonstone, just slightly chemically different, creating that diffraction. Very similar into what, as part of the reason that creates the light in the Japanese iridescent andradite garnets. So we won't get too deep into that because that's light diffraction and light grating with the T, etc. And then we have color centers, which gets into how the elements are arranged in by way of the crystal structure and why certain colors are be able to be viewed and others aren't. But that's for another day. Just keep watching. Okay, look at this. Look at this. That is stunning actual quality in moonstone for them to carve the moon face on it. All right. Now, I have had these for so long. I can't even remember. Look at this one. Look at the, let me turn this one around. The beautiful, I just hold it with my hand. Look at that. Look at that wonderful moon face on that. And then that incredible quality of the blue. This would have been cut into a really nice cabochon instead of probably moon face in today's market. But look at that. I know I had gotten these so long ago that they probably figured, oh, we have enough. We'll just carve these into moon faces. Now, this quality now would be carved into high-end cabochons. By the way, that incredible quality moonstone ring that was Raven's did sell, by the way, Miss Raven. She already hit me up for the money for it, not even knowing whether it was sold. But I didn't tell her that I knew it was sold. I just gave her the money. Look at that. Look at the yellows in that. That becomes rainbow moonstone. I have blue on there, but when you have those other colors, it gets into rainbow. I don't know why they think, or some people value the blue as more valuable. Well, let me think. If an opal only has one color, even if it's all red, is it more valuable than an opal that has many colors, including red? No. The more different colors you have, the rarer it is that the piece is to have those colors. Blue moonstone is far more common than moonstone with blue and yellow. Then you get moonstone with other colors outside of that, even, and it becomes even more rare. All right. Anyway, I can even tell you where these are from. Old stock material, the Bihar area of India, which has quite a few deposits of this type moonstone. Rainbow moonstone is known to come from an other area, a little bit other area, but you can have some of both from both areas. Now, these I have especially priced. Did I already give you the bag to these? No? Okay, so I'm already losing items, but that's common. Okay, so I am not going to charge 22 karat total weight. Okay, I'm serious. $20 a carat. And that was for regular cabochons. And they were every bit as included as these. Every bit. So we'd be looking at $440. And that is from, and you've heard me reference my cheapy site that I go to. In other words, the least expensive site I found that have decent quality, yes, thank you, specimens. And that would be the appropriate price. That would be and I just checked the pricing on the moonstones, including the carved face ones. There's no discount for that. It's even more time consuming than a cabochon. So let me tell you, you get one shot at this price for both of these stones. And after that, it will, I'll either keep them or it'll go up. $68. $68 for the two. I kid you not. Yeah, $68 for the yeah, it should be a piece. I know. I know. Okay. Now, let me show you something else. I told you today was a day of bargains, and all these items you're seeing right now have never been shown before. Item 126 8825. 126 8825. You have not seen this little jewel before. No, you haven't. This next little item coming up. Now, it will not come with a stand, but you can find all kinds of neat, interesting little things for a stand. Look at this. I'm just using this washer. Actually, by the way, you can get little washers like that. That's what that actually is a washer. And being that they're rubber, they won't scratch your stone or anything, and they grab the stone much better than plastic, so they'll hold it in place for you. And you can just go down the row in the plumbing aisle of your home store. Check this out. Check this out. Oh, yep. Oh, everybody got to look. Maybe there's something coming up I hadn't shown before. It was a natural Turkish diaspora. You think I got one of those? 1267925. No. 126. Oh, did she hand me the moonstone one? Oh, you handed me the moonstone one. Oh. Oh yeah. Huh? Oh yeah. I need to do that. Okay, so never mind. I did give you that wrong item number. It's item 1268925. Is that right? You don't have that one? Okay. Well, that's what that one is. All right. So everyone will get to see it right here. Here it is. It is a natural color Indian carnelian. Yep. 1268925. 1268925. And what is really neat, there's a lot of carnelian that's heat treated for the colors that you see. And I know I've heat treated carnelian. I've heat treated all kinds of, like tiger eye. Tiger eye is easy to heat treat to red. Did you get all the info, sir? So this is 140 carats. And remember, another important factor is, don't forget, there is 5 carats to a gram. So you can divide that by 5 to come up with the grams. Thank you, sir. And then Druzy quartz. The Druzy quartz, look at that. Look in these little pockets. Look at these little pockets. I love the fact that they have those little areas with the extra bonus. Look at that. Looks like a emoji or something. A mad sandwich. I don't know. I tell you what, Raven's the emoji queen. I'm not an emojier, but she emojis everything. Finds the perfect look. Look at this. This is a winking eye. Look at that, isn't it? I don't know. That looks like some kind of a dragon. It does kind of look like a dragon. So many things can be found. Now, here's the other neat thing about this piece. Look, let me show you. Look at that. Look at that natural red, deep red color penetrating throughout the entire piece. Look at that. Almost, ooh, that is nature. That is rare that nature does that. That is really rare to create a circle symmetry like that. Okay, so if you collect eggs, this is one you won't have. This is a real darling, and that's why I've had it for so long. Wow, look at that. Look, hold on. Did you see how that just changed color? Okay, look, as I turn that. How's it doing that? Look at how it's like an eye that closes. Boy, I love rocks and minerals. There is so many. Look at that. There's an animal. Oh, it's fighting another one. Yeah, no end in sight for fun. How about this? $12. I know, $12. $12 it is. Okay, let's go to the next. I know, item 126 8125. 126 8125. I am going to show you a really cool treasure next. And these I have had since 1992. Yeah, hold on. Let me get you that number again. It is 126 8125. And yeah, do you have it? Why you not have it? Do you have that? You want me to give you the sheet to write it down from? That might be easier. I have an extra one. It's not on your sheet. I hope it's on mine. Here. Let's see. I'm sure it is. Yeah. Okay. It's on number 4. Here, will you hand that to? And you can just keep that, Mr. Latif. Well, it has everything spelled out, so I don't have to show you the tag. Yeah, it's no north south. It looks like New South Wales, and New South Wales, of course, is the territory where Sydney, Australia is, where the capital center is, Canberra, and also the Melbourne, where the majority of the population is, and where Lightning Ridge is, all the way up in the corner of it. This comes from an area that is just below Brisbane, which Brisbane is on the coast and in the Queensland territory, just north of New South Wales. This is from if you're from there, you know it well, Redstone Creek from Glen Innes area. Now, let me show you. As you have the New South Wales, Australia, sapphire, facet grade. Let me show you first. I have put these on a light so I can actually backlight them. Now, these are alluvial. That's how they're found. But you can see some incredible crystal forms that are still very represented in these gems. Now, you can see a color blue to them, but let's really look at them a little closer as I light this up. Boom. Look at that. Look at those gems. And that is why I have these as facet grade. Now, this is, again, it becomes real important, the skill of a cutter, because some of these have, you can see 6 sides to that. So that is a beautiful crystal, great clarity. Now, you're going to see, now remember, some of our party color sapphires, the majority of them, meaning bicolor or multicolor, have come from Australia. It is known for its party color. And I had gotten these in 1992 when I had gone to Australia. Um, look at that. Look at that beautiful, beautiful blue crystal. If you orient these, remember the importance of that blue in the bottom of the culet of the one gemstone we talked about earlier. If you do not orient them in the right, look at that crystal, right way, you're going to get yelled at by whoever owned the crystal, or be very disappointed in the outcome, because if you do not cut it right, you are going to get a color different than what you are viewing right now. And I'm going to show you that in a moment. But look at that. Look at that. 6 sides to that. That crystal is, and let me show you with my hands just how big that is. That's a large crystal. That will cut a fantastic gem, and most likely these have not been treated in any way. And one of the ways that helps you tell that is, we'll get to one of those. Look at this. Look at the shape to this crystal. Again, you have a wonderful crystalline formation for corundum, for sapphire, and then these have been, you can see the rounded edges, freed from their matrix and tumbled in a stream. And being a hardness of 9, there's not much else that could wear these down except a lot of time. Now, let me go through and, okay, now what I'm going to do, that you got to see those like that, let me put these down in the tray, and we're going to look at them from some different angles, because these stones, actually, let's put them, if you can just follow me here, and look at them at the top here, one at a time. These stones have an incredible blue, but it all depends on which way you look at them. Some of them have blue in every direction, and that makes it easy. So you're just orienting it for the clarity. Now, I turned that at a ever so slight angle, and you're going to see a yellowish, greenish color tone. Let's see if we can do that. There you go. Yeah. You see it there? Because it's tough for me to see it with the monitor. Yeah, you got it. Okay, so you, all of a sudden, by changing the angle ever so little, you're going to get into those party colors, those other colors, which is not what you want. Look at, I see it right there. Yeah, look at that. But looking at it in all, look at that other, look at the blue, look at those colors. You could really cost yourself a job if you're working for someone else, or yourself if you don't orient it right. But that is one of the main things you learn in faceting. But it's more advanced, so that's why people start off with quartz, where it doesn't make a difference which way you turn it much. Amethyst has a little bit of properties going on, the dichroic nature of it, but sapphire can have a very strong difference in color. I just love actually looking at the different, the crystal shape to it, and how rounded it is, and that wonderful color blue. And then how nature can alter that. Look at that blue. That is like a, like a Burma blue, a cashmere blue. That crystal looks, that is a pretty blue. Yeah. That is a really nice blue. It's a really nice crystal shape to it. And these are why I have hung on to these particular ones for so long, because I um, I was going to cut them one day. I was going to cut these one day, and time just gets away. And to cut other stuff, I have other stuff. I have rhodochrosites I want to cut. I have an axonite I still need to find to finish cutting. All right, you can see this has clear spots in it that you want to orient so you don't see the zoning so much. But boy, I tell you what, these especially for Australian crystals are very, look at that, very clean and very consistent in their color for the most part, compared to so many others that I have seen. So we've only seen one. I thought there was one here. Oh, look at the clarity to that. Ah, I should pull that one out of the parcel. I don't think I viewed that correctly. You September babies out there, this is your birthstone. There, you don't even have to do anything to these. Just set them in a ring the way they look. This is a natural polish on those from the creek. The alluvial. Look at the clarity to that. That one, look at the size of that. That one stone, this one crystal would cut something far more valuable than than the price I'm getting ready to tell you. Look at that. If I did not look, you see the 6 sides to it, so the perfect hexagonal shape to so many of corundum crystals. This is look at that. That's like a water clear pebble. That is going to be a nice stone. Look at that. That is going to be a nice stone, an incredible stone. Well, if anyone gets this and your cutter has that cut, that would be one I want to see the finished product of. Look at that. The only thing I see in it is actually the back side. That reflection is coming from the bottom of it. That's a gem. That's a gem. If I didn't know and it wasn't traveling with these others, I wouldn't have even thought that was Australian. You could say that that's top Ceylon, top Madagascar. Okay, so the last one, and again, it's been 1992. So how long has that? 33 years. So yeah, I tend to forget, but over time, I obviously kept these for myself to be traveling together with almost no zoning in them and of the grade they are. Look at that. Again, 6 sides to this. And just that really rich color. And I am not seeing much of the party color at all to these. So it was going to be a lesson on cutting, but I don't think I left a lesson stone here much except that one, because I'm turning these at every really real angle, and I just do not see where these are, like the green and the yellows. But my notes have it coming from where it says it is. So other than that, look at that. Here is another one. These you could say were Madagascar or yeah. So I'm telling you what I know and where I think they're from. But wow, yeah, they are nice. Those are some jewels. Okay. I probably should have broken these up and more chances, but I just wanted to let them go as a parcel. And wow. So anyway, they have certainly got me distracted. I am offering 13.73 carats of facet grade blue sapphire, $137. I know, $10 a carat. That one stone would cut, well, especially remember when you cut down the stone, you're going to pick up the color. So the color is going to become more vibrant. It's going to become more blue looking. And I would certainly love to cut that one stone. If no one gets this parcel, I'll cut, you know what, I'll cut that one stone and then kind of like be mean and say, look, this is what you passed up. This is what you passed up. Now you can have it for $1,370 because, you know, no, I don't like to be a jerk like that. But sometimes it makes me feel like wanting to be like that because sometimes there's so many available deals that I've passed up that are so inexpensively, yet none of you out there have recognized it. Even if you're not a cutter, it, you know, for an example, sometimes you just have to buy them for the collection. Now, Miss Gabby's in a situation that she can maybe get items that others just can't. But I did not know when I offered that giant 60 carat, I think it was, chrysoberyl, yellow piece of facet grade chrysoberyl. I had no idea that she had, or was it 30, whatever size it was so big, that she had a faceted stone from the same place, same color range, everything that would match it perfectly. I don't, you know, she knows what a good deal she got on buying the piece of rough, but she bought it strictly as a after because she already had the before. So if you have sapphires, you want to show people what something looks like in a sapphire before, these would be great for that, you know, because they are of a facet grade quality. You know, sometimes you just have to buy something because you're buying a quarter for the nickel. You're buying a 50-cent piece for a nickel, which is more like what you have here. Whether you know whether you're a cutter or not, or know what to do with them or not, when they are a bargain, just get them. And if you don't, then after being able to view them, like I said, sometimes the best view I have is right here in real time for me, looking at it on the monitors from all those angles. There's a reason why I take that time. If you pass it up, I guarantee I'll be cutting that stone. And that parcel may be reoffered at 4 stones. You'll know where the 5th is. It'll be on my dot. All right, only $137 on that. That was enjoyable. That was enjoyable for an old cutter like me to be able to look at those. I was looking at them to be able to chastise my own pieces and show you what you would want to avoid. I thought there was some yellows and greens in there, but not enough even to worth mentioning. So, yeah, take advantage of those. Those are special, and I have had them a very, very long time. Okay, now, remember I had mentioned this might be well, now we'll get to that in a moment. Here we have 1269725. 1269725. And this is, again, a 2 crystals, very special because it's something you don't normally see in this quality, believe it or not. All right. Now, check these out. You're thinking, oh, well, those are kind of dead. Nothing exciting there. Right. There you go. That's the right way to say it, Chuck. Right. Okay. First, let me show you. The first word I chose for you to see is the word floater. Floater means a crystal that grew freely in the pocket, the bug, wherever its chamber was, without being attached to matrix or the cluster or anything else. The other word, doubly terminated. So we first look at this. We have classic. We know it's tourmaline, right? So we know tourmaline has a classic 3 faces for its termination. There is your 3 faces there, and on the other end, your 3 faces there. So no crystal broken off, nothing like that. All right, that's doubly terminated. Then we look all around the crystal to see if there was anywhere where it looks like it was broken off from a cluster, from another pocket. Of course, remember, they usually grow from the end. So if there's going to be anything like that, it would usually be from one end of the crystal. With that being doubly terminated on both ends, this crystal is a floater. So it grew in the pocket without being attached to anything. Those they're much more rare. That does not happen often. Now, here in the world of dravite is the color of tourmaline that most people really aren't too excited about. It can be anywhere from black to brown to yellow, and is not one of the more valuable ones that you often see. Now, in the world of crystals, you normally don't find very attractive ones. So when it comes down to a crystal and it's doubly terminated, it's a floater crystal. All these things add, and then here is the key to this crystal: the clarity. Again, most dravite is not very exciting. It's usually opaque at best. Let's take a look at this. Let's look behind that. Look at that. Now that is a clarity of dravite not often seen. And, technically you could facet a stone. It would have some inclusions, but you don't see many of them even faceted to that level. Look at that. Look at that yellow. That is a beautiful yellow. Then let me try something else here. Often I wish I had many more arms than I do. Look at that. That is striking. And now let me get that away from that. Turn this little light on, and if you just follow me there, let's look at it with another light. Okay, so in another lighting environment, look at that. Wow, that's beautiful. That's the color I want it to be. So a different wavelength of light, different coloring, but it also shows you the clarity in this respect. And boy, that's really pretty. That is really, really pretty. Now let's look at the other one. This is a 2 crystal parcel. And let's see what we have here. That's why in the wording, one word says coffee and the other says yellow. I would say that other crystal is the yellow one. And if one was to be coffee, it would be more this one. So this is like a cognac or coffee colored. Not quite the clarity, but still more so than many, many dravites that you'll come across. Like I said, a lot of them are just opaque and nothing really special. This one, you have some good clarity to it for dravite. And then again, look at the terminations. You have the 3 faces here, 3 faces there, well defined, and then no contact points. It's a floater as well. So 2 wonderful. If you have tourmalines, if you have nice tourmalines and you don't have a representation of dravite, then you're missing out. That is something that you should have in a tourmaline collection. They're just not your regular dravites. They're floaters and doubly terminated. So very cool. That is very cool. And also what's very cool is they're only $36. Only $36 on those, making it especially a good opportunity. Okay, let me tuck away a few things and I'll be right back. As I was just telling Lateef and Chuck, I was considering, and you guys saw, I'm the real deal. I'm a scrap dealer. You saw that huge bag of silver scrap with the thimble and all that. No, all going, all history. So I was thinking about scrapping this chain. And then it's a perfectly good chain. I thought, why would I want to do that? So what I'm offering it for is what it would cost me to get from a wholesaler. So my replacement cost. And granted, it sounds a lot more than whatever I'm used to back when I had the retail stores. So, but that is today's market. And the way I priced this from a few days ago, gold's more now than it was then. But I didn't even reprice it. So this is, I didn't scrap it because it's basically brand new. It probably is brand new. It just, with all my stuff. This is a cable chain. If you don't know when you hear the word cable. Now, this is actually what they would call a diamond cut cable chain. So it has those little, see those, yeah, look at the little shiny things reflecting right there. So they cut these little flat edges. But I've always said the cable chain is the strongest chain there is, not only for hanging things on it, but for safety chains, etc. It's, you know, a curb link or an anchor chain are all the same thing. So cable anchor, it is one link inside of another, like that. So that is as strong as it gets, and why the same link is made for anchors, etc. So this has a certainly sufficient spring ring on it, and 14 karat there, 1.4 grams, 1 millimeter wide, giving you all the info, 16 inches long, and at my replacement cost, $148. $148. And so that would be one if you wanted to go try to find one less than that. I gave you all the information you need. So what seems like a lot of money to me, for one, it's because I'm living in the past, and they said I'm stuck in the 70s. And when it comes to what things cost in the gold market, I probably am. So that's why I have it, because I'm not in the gold market, and I was just going to scrap it, but it's nothing wrong with it. It's perfectly new. It was in its own little bag like it was new, and I don't see where it's ever been used before. So excellent value if someone wants to take advantage of it. You're only going to get to see it this one time, because after that, it's not getting discounted. There's no room for me to discount it. And it'll just, I hate to say it, but I'll probably take the money and run. All right, let's look at item number. What is this next going to be? Oh, speaking of Australia, item 126, 94.25. 126, 94.25. I have the cutest little guy. Now, of course, Rock and Gem did a number of years ago an article actually on this particular mine. It was written up, and my friends, my very close, dear friends that I spent the time with in Australia, were are the mine owners, and they, one of them since had passed away sadly. Kim knows them both well, and so she ends up with this mine, the Kandala mine in Queensland. And so they had mined a lot of the chrysoprase and had some neat carvings done from it. And we found that they had one. Look at that. Isn't that cute? Look at the detail in this. Now, we talk about fine detail, but we talk about fine detail on items that might be 2 inches, 3 inches tall, not ones that are, look at that, 21 less. So remember, here's the other important figure. Remember, 5 carats to a gram. Yes, you're going to learn the metric system if I have to beat it into you. I had a little test. I had a test, and oh, poor Ravens, what she has to put up with me. And I was trying to tell her, how to convert miles per hour to kilometers per hour, etc. And bless her little heart. We'll have to come back to that lesson. Yeah, no, we'll have to come back to that lesson. She was really impressed when she saw the speedometers of like foreign cars, like a BMW, and it said 250 miles an hour, She goes, wow, that's really fast. And I said, you see the KMH there? Yeah. And so, but if you were like me, maybe Chuck, growing up in the days of the muscle cars, one of the things that, and it was funny, Raven did the same thing. We always looked at speedometer dials to see how fast they went up to. Then things became digitized and all this other, and wasn't the same with speedometers. So I love to go up to see the Jaguar XJ12, one of the biggest ones, 180 miles an hour. Corvette, you could always count on at least 160 miles an hour, and those kind of things. So anyway, I was trying to do the old conversion with her, and like I said, we'll come back to that lesson. What's important, everybody, is carats to grams. How many carats are in a gram? 5 carats in a gram. The other is inches. An inch is 25.4 millimeters. Now, if you don't want to worry about the 0.4, fine. Just round it off in your head to 25. So that way, when you see something that's 21 by 14, you have a rough idea that is a little short of an inch high, a little more than a ½ inch wide, because it'd be 12.5 millimeters roughly for what ½ an inch is, and 10 millimeters thick. So that gives you a good reference, because if we did it in inches, a lot of people don't even know how big like 3/8 of an inch is. So if you just keep the figure of 25 millimeters to an inch, even though it's 25.4, 25, you can draw a closer approximation to its relative size using that number than you can if I did inches. The thing about it is, there's a big difference between 3/8 of an inch and, let's say, 2/8, which is a quarter of an inch, and 3/8. If we get down into 1/16 of an inch, which you'd have to do, then it gets really weird for people to understand sizes. So the metric system works much better for those numbers, like the diameter of a 1 carat diamond in millimeters. You don't give it in inches, it becomes important. So anyway, here we go. Look at the detail on this, on something less than an inch high. And look at the wings. Look at all that. That's incredible. Incredible detail with natural. I like to see that, because yes, there is fake chrysoprase out there. And so when you see the natural ironstone inclusions like that, then you know you have the real deal. Look at that cute guy. And the detail. High detailed. $10 mine, know right where it came from, and a special price. That is my totem animal. That's why these owls keep turning up. But I don't have nearly as many owls as the raven has in skulls. That girl, besides the one attached to her neck, has more skulls than anyone I could imagine. She's been collecting for a long time and has literally hundreds. This guy, I have right now an opportunity on. Wow, that is an opportunity. Let's make this one only $38. $38. And again, the detail is, well, like they say, everything's in the detail. And that goes for that guy as well. I love the quality. Beautiful, beautiful item. All right, now, let me see. Put that one there. There was something that came into my mind and it left. Okay, this as quick as it came. This next item is one. Okay, this is a good item for now. Item 126 8325. 126 8325. And here is a piece. If you ever wanted to collect a really nice piece from made in America, Arizona, look at this. Look at that. Boy, that's I love it. I love it. Wonderful, wonderful, and very desirable. If anyone noticed the pendant I have on, it happens to be ravens, of course, but it is incredible quality combination of chrysocolla and malachite. The pendant. Well, this is as well, except the pendant is from the Congo. This is from Inspiration Mine in Gila City, Arizona. Look at that wonderful, very valuable color in the chrysocolla. This is a couple generations of growth, laid down some chrysocolla, then some malachite, and then maybe some more chrysocolla, kind of a mix of things. Look at this, a double-sided piece. that is neat. That is neat. So from a well-known, look at that, United States. What is going on? You know, when you see that, if I could see just geology in these pockets, look at that. See these little seams? See that, how it works its way into the smallest of seams. And then you have these other minerals as well. So when you get into some of these other minerals, you can often get into other minerals. It's not necessarily chrysocolla, but it's a variant of it. A lot of different copper minerals, a lot of things go on in the world of copper. Look at how these two just come together right there. Who knows what's back in that pocket? Something left for you to explore. But that is a wonderful size piece. You can see it in my hand, and shows off well for a made in America. Let me just see what it looks like there. And let me see what it looks like maybe right there might give you a better look for the moment. Okay, this one, how about it? You're gonna love it. Take advantage of it for certain at only $28. $28 on that. A fantastic opportunity. All right, let me see. We're getting ready to do a really cool uh, education stone. But first, we'll build up to that. Item 1269125. 1269125, if I can read right. And this is another one of those kind of lesson stones in a way. Actually, both of them are. And if you collect gemstones at all, you want to start adding some stones just for reference. So let me show you first, just in the gem tube right here. Okay, and what you have is classic. Yep, here's the number right there. 1269125. Let me take these out. Now, I was in Kanchanaburi, Thailand in 1992. Bought a lot of different gemstones there. I was in Australia in 92 as well. I traveled the world in 92. Went to all 6 continents that year. I only worked about 8 months. It was the best thing I could do for myself and my mental well-being. That was the year I got divorced, and so I needed to check out for a while when my son, he was just very young, and so it was a good time to do something I always wanted to do, and that was to go to some of the mining sites of the world, including Lightning Ridge. And I went crazy when I loved the party color corundum sapphires. Look at this stone. Look at this stone. Now, this gem, besides being really well cut, I wish I could say that I cut it. You can see that it has very well defined 2 colors. It's just hard to see exactly. Let me pick this up. When something is cut in a round shape, the way it bounces the light around, it's difficult sometimes to tell where the light is, the color is coming from. And is it coming from one place on it and bouncing off the other side? Is it coming just from the place in the bottom? This takes some looking at to figure out what's going on. It could be just the color in the vermiculite that bounces it back and forth. Let me get another light here. But was done intentionally, obviously, to take that stone and, oops, let me see something here. Let's look on it right here, if you can follow me there, sir. And this might give us a little bit different look at it. And you can see there is color right in the culet, separate from the rest. But is that what is causing it to bounce around? Or is there another color center somewhere? Look at that gem. You can see a little bit of silk. Okay, you see that reflecting off of there? I found that in there earlier. So that's a little bit of rutile silk. That tells me, and with the colors not being blended or fused together or anything, that this has a most likely factor of not having been heat treated. Heat treating it would mess with the colors as far as evening out, and the silk that you see there, it would melt into the stone. So at least a high temperature heat treatment would. So that one was certainly and most likely cut for it to have that neat play of colors as you look at it from above. Now this is a perfect lesson stone of what a Thai ruby looks like. Now, what a really high quality Thai ruby looks like. Now, this comes into play when you're comparing it to a Mogok Burma ruby and the color. And I don't have one of those at the moment, but maybe some of you out there do. If you were only shown this ruby by itself, you might think that there was nothing wrong. It was red, everything you wanted. When the reality of it is, it actually is a purplish red that the Thai rubies are well known for. In the really high end and high grade Thai rubies, no matter what, they still have a little bit of a purple color tint to them. And you can see this is also a native cut. Look at that. Okay, so you can tell when I got this stone that I was certainly not buying it for, even though it looks nice from above, but not buying it as since it's been recut, which many of them then are recut. But that is a natural native cut, just from the the largest best stone they could get from the crystal. Very clean, and it's desirable for that factor. Now, that stone, I say why it's an educational stone if you got it, would because until you compare it next to a Mogok ruby, it looks great. It is a great comparison stone. And then you'll know just how much more red a Burma ruby is over Thai. Even though I have seen Burma rubies look like Thai rubies, I have not seen Thai rubies look like Burma rubies. So keep that in mind as well. Look at how well cut that one is. That was still amazing me. All right, so those are a pair of my collector gems right there. It's just special pieces I have had for a good number of years. And the ruby, I cannot believe how much they're asking for rubies like that now, catching me really off guard on those. So we have a 59 point in the ruby, 60, actually if we, the sapphire, well, it can't be 6.5 points. Yeah, so I have, if you could just change the sapphire weight to 65 points. Yep, 0.65 instead of 0.065. There we go. Thank you, sir. So we have almost 2/3 carat in the, so we have, well, I tell you what. I just couldn't make it a stupid price for both stones, and that would be only $78. $78. So, you know, how do you figure the math on that? The ruby like that, no matter what, you're talking about hundreds of dollars a carat in that color. Remember, I can show you a parcel of Thai ruby that you would think almost look like amethyst. You know, that's really overstating it, but it is so purple that, no, here's what it looks like. It looks like garnets. They look like garnets. And of course, you know how to tell the difference. You know, get your old magnet out in that respect, because the garnets that run into that color range will have an iron content to them in all likely cases. So Thai rubies can be very, very violet into the purple color range, and that is one of the most red Thai rubies you can ever find. And that's why I said it makes a great comparison stone. And I'll show you what I mean by that in a moment when I get this next parcel out that I have two of. How cheap is that? $78. Okay, I'm just making a note on this because I had it. All right. Now, this next parcel I call, we're going to do it. You're going to see a difference between Podporacha sapphire and a pink sapphire. Item number 1268725. 1268725. Now, I did this intentionally. Actually, let me do this other parcel first. Latif, thank you, sir. And let me find, yeah, okay. That, oh, nope, not that one. Where? Oh. We got that, we have that. Oh, here it is. Okay, good. Item 1268625. 1268625. So this is where I started that new moniker I put on particular gemstones, an edugem. an edugem. In other words, a gemstone that educates. And I'm going to show you right now. I'm going to keep them in the little parcel together, and we're going to look at this, and we're going to view it with side by side with what would be pink sapphires. And then if two stones you are seeing are pink, which ones would they be, Chuck?
Yeah.
Exactly. That's a great answer. All of them, for one thing. All of them. But which two stones are more pink than the others? And it becomes obvious that this is a pink gem. This is a classic, what you consider pink. Now, I am sure many of you out there have seen many, many, many pink sapphires with a certification of being a Podparacha. And you wonder, how in the world, where's the second color? Because remember, Podparacha sapphire is the rarest color and the most valuable color in sapphire, even more than purple, which is the second. All right, Podparacha is after the Sinhalese word having to do with the lotus flower, actually the color of the stamen of the lotus flower, if you want to be exact. And the color of that is between, well, they say a sunset and some other flower word. Basically, it's between a pink and what would be influence of orange or peach, a secondary color in that range, a pinkish orange, orangish pink, pinkish peach, etc. And I just don't see in so many of these certified Podparachas the second color. It's pink. Well, when I was putting this parcel together, which I have sold individual stones from this same parcel I worked from for a long, long time to many of you over the years. And so I was finally sorting it out, and I thought, I see now pink sapphire, and I knew there, and that's why I have these, because I had kept setting these aside for the right moment to do it. And I thought this was the right moment to be able to show the difference. Now, the human eye, I'm not sure what you're seeing on your TV at home. It can make a difference, but the human eye, I can readily see a difference between these two stones and these two. Yeah. Okay. Remember, the human eye, until only recently, could discern more shades of color than any computer. Only recently did they develop a program that the computer could discern these small fractional differences in color, and therefore could be used for helping to, uh, pronounce something a particular color. I don't know how so many pink sapphires got the Podparacha moniker on them, because I have seen both colors. I can have one color and recognize it to not be a pink. This is a demonstration, an edgy gem demonstration of, and for you to have at home, if you have a Podparacha, if you have pink, to keep it like it is so you can show and compare. Because until you have the other color, the comparing color, like the guy said, they all look pink to them. And that is exactly the correct answer, is they all look pink. But what ones are more pink? If these are pink, then what do you call these? Without a doubt, they have that second color.
Yeah.
That second color. You can see the peach, you can see the light orange, you can certainly see it to a degree greater than what it would take in a certification to make it Podparacha. Now, these aren't certified, but how could they not, if you certify these as pink, what do you call the other two? And that is the question. Pink is a very narrow range before they start calling it pinkish this or pinkish that or light pink, just as in the diamond categories. Now, I'm going to take these out. And since this is one of our little educational segments where we also sell the gems, we'll look at these individually outside of the case. And with my human eyes, boy, there is just it's just really easy to be able to see which ones. Yeah, how are you guys' eyes looking at these?
Yeah.
Easy to see the difference?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, my point being, you can call the two in front pink. That's what they are. They're baby pink, the classic pink you think of. But then, if that's the case, if these are pink, what color are these? What is the secondary color? We have the color wheel, right? The secondary on the color wheel, there's not a burnt orange or a cinnamon or all these other names. There's classic, you have pink, you have orange, you have red, yellow, green, you have your main, whatever it is, 8, 9 colors. Therefore, the secondary color you would have to call that would be orange. If they are pink and they are orange, there's only one thing that they can, therefore, by deduction, to me, be called, and that is classifies it as a Podparacha sapphire. Because if GIA is going to certify these as pink, we certainly know there's another color in these.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, right. And the more you actually look at them, and the more you see them, like you guys are seeing them from the different angles and different lighting, the more apparent it becomes. Look at that.
yeah.
Look at that angle. Because remember, sapphire is dichroic. It changes color with the direction that you turn them. And you can turn this one. Look at that one, looks more orange. I mean, that one just really can see the other color tones in it. And remember, that's how stones are graded and how they can, it's not just a face up grade. It's like diamonds, they just don't grade them by face up. They turn them on the sides and look at the color through the side. And that's how they're officially graded. So, same thing here. You look at these, that's pink. Look at that. I mean, yeah, you can look that the orange is unmistakable. Unmistakable. And therefore, just by this demonstration alone, I'm not sure how they could be certified for anything other than Podparacha. Now, these aren't being, I'm not selling you these as Podparachas or pricing them, et cetera, as such. My point is this. If you buy a sapphire, let's say you buy it loose, and you buy it as a Podparacha, and you compare it to your EduGem parcel, this parcel, and if it falls in this color range and you do not see any other secondary color, then you paid money for something you didn't get. And that's not a good thing. You don't know that until you have a comparison stone. So if I was just showing those two back stones, yeah, you'd say they were pink. You probably wouldn't see any other secondary color. The only way you would is if you really had seen many, many, many stones and no, or until you had something else to compare them to. And then it's like, oh, wow, yeah, I do see that difference. And therefore, those are Podparachas and those are pink sapphires. And the human eye knows the difference and can see and tell the difference. Because, again, going back to the simple principle, if these are pink, then what are these called? And if they have any orange whatsoever to them, then it's a Podparacha sapphire. So I have these 4 stones, and I have another parcel. I'm gonna show you the same, but this is your chance to get in on an EduGem parcel at a ridiculous price. I got these stones myself in '92. I didn't pay for them to be pod porachas, but now with the current guidelines for what determines a stone to be a pod poracha, it seems like the bar was lowered a lot. And in this case, sorry, but I don't know. Shawn, I just call it like I see it. Maybe I'll get in trouble. I hope not. Uh, but but I proved my point. Maybe I'm not supposed to do that. Okay, we'll just wipe this whole segment out. All right, I tell you what. Here's where you know you can't go wrong. If you don't price them as pod porachas, then what difference does it make, right? I'm not pricing them because if those I priced this pod poracha 92 points, $920, $1,000 a carat. Look at the clarity. There would be no doubt in my mind that if those just send them off, get certified. I have an account with GIA, and yeah. What I'd like to do is you send one of each. You send one of each. You send one of these. You send one of these. You send them on different days so they go to different graders. And when one comes back pink and the other comes back pink, then you challenge them. And then they redo the certificate and make that one a pod poracha. Believe me, it's done. We used to test. I won't go into that. I won't go into that because I'm not gonna badmouth GIA. But yeah, I could tell you all some stories. Remember, I've been doing this for 54 years, and I could tell you some stories. $98 for the parcel. There, $98 for all four. So you know what? Doesn't matter what they are. Doesn't matter what they are at that price. It just But I tell you what, if you want comparison stones and be able to, if someone slaps out their pink sapphire and shows you, look, I have a GIA, and you don't see any other color, you can whip out yours and say, well, if that's a pod poracha, then what are mine? Yeah, what are these? I don't know. I probably ruined a few people's day, but I don't know how to be any other way. I did get in trouble for that one time. So we better end the story right there. Yeah. Raven was right by my side when that happened. Item number 1268725. 1268725. We're not going to take these out. It's the same lesson, except what I chose was 2 stones that were windowed. So cut doesn't throw you off. All right. Same thing here. Sorry. You guys, you step on that.
Right now.
I know. You wipe. Latif, you delete all that on there if the winds are blowing the wrong way. If the winds are blowing the wrong way this week, you have my back. You got my 6. Same thing, guys. You can tell. So here I have the 2 windowed stones. It is obvious. I don't need to take them out. That's pink. Yeah, that's pink. That is not. That is pink. It's a well-cut stone. That is not as well cut, and it's not as pink. I'll take these out. Hold on. Let me give you the full list, because you know what? I'm not. There it might be a different weight, bigger weight, whatever. But the price is going to be the same. So if anyone wants to jump in on these earlier, it's going to be $98, even though the total weight is more. It is a ridiculous price indeed. Let me make sure I get these in the right bag. Yep. And here's the neat thing: they both weighed a total weight of a carat 17. Isn't that unique? So I thought that was kind of wild. No, and if you're a cutter, I mean, you could easily clean them up. All right, so again, it doesn't take a whole lot before you can even see them just the way they just fell out on the, which are pink, and which are pink plus something else. And, you know, that's pink. Oops. You can see them laying on their side, the other colors, as you turn them in different directions. And yeah, I know. And the cushion cut is really cool. So look at those two colors right there. Actually, as sloppily as I just laid them out, boy, isn't that really obvious? I hope you can see that on your TV at home, everyone, and I hope in the lighting you can see there on our different monitors, because pink, and if that's pink, that looks like a sunset, and that's what it's supposed to look like, a sunset, where you get the reds, the oranges, the pinks together. That's what you have. And this one, bright and well cut, that's why that you can take and put it on its side to see more of the second color. You can see, I see the one on the far right just has orange. I mean, I can just, it is so obvious the orange. This one's more of almost a borderline. This one's kind of in between, and that's what makes this a good educational parcel as well, because you almost have an in-between stone for the coloring. But remember, it has to do with the direction you look at it. If I change the direction of this, you're going to get like right there. You can see more of the orange right there. Yeah. Yeah. So I picked two windowed stones so you can have those to compare as well. But you can see from that angle that there is an orange to that. And look at,
Yeah.
what? Oh, a window. I'm sorry. You're right. So one of a good friend of mine, and he might be passed away by now. I haven't talked to him a little bit, but I should too. I always liked his card because it gave his name, and then it said he's a gem cutter. It said, "We don't do windows." You know the old saying. You know, when you had your maid come over or whatever, we don't do windows. And that's what his card said. And to a gem cutter, that made a lot of sense. But you're right. To other people outside of that, thanks for speaking up loud enough, Latif, where I finally heard what you said. Explain what a window is. So a window is when you cut a gemstone, when you can see right through it, like right there. This is probably one of the best examples of a window you can have, because when there's no brilliance reflected out of the center of the stone, how that happens is the pavilion, the bottom of the stone, is cut at angles less than what they call the critical angle. The critical angle, if you go below that, is an angle that allows the light, instead of bouncing and reflecting back out the top, the light bounces and reflected out the bottom of the stone. It's lost, and therefore it creates a dead area in the middle. You can see right through it. Let's see if you can see. There you go. You can look at that. Oh my goodness, that's a bad window. Oh my goodness, that's a bad window. Now it makes me wonder. Let's see. Can we let me see if I can read something through this here. Hold on. Where's, here we go. Can we see the barcode through that? Why is this not? I do have to turn it a little bit. Hold on. Let me come above it. Can you?
There you go.
Oh my gosh, it doesn't even distort it. It doesn't even distort the bars.
Wow.
Now that, look at that. I'm laughing, I'm shaking. Anyway, you saw it good enough. That wow. Normally I don't make as much fun of my stones as Latif just made me. But you're right. That is you know what you do with a stone like this, and this is what they used to do with the old rose cut diamonds, is that's when you heard of your foil backs. That's what they would do. And I had one. Remember, I had one that was like 300-year-olds. I still have one of those diamonds left. You had to change out the foil behind them about every year because you'd get dirt built up and whatnot. But they would put a bright foil behind a rose cut diamond, which is a diamond that's cut, is perfectly flat on the back and just has some facets cut on the top. And so by having a aluminum background or a shiny background, it would cause it to look like it had some kind of life to it. And that's where you heard the term foil back comes from. Foil back, and it was used with really old, not only just diamonds but other stones. Then later with paste stones, it got used, and for that reason as well. But foil back was one of the ways that they took super old. It was one of the first ways of taking a diamond and trying to make something brilliant from it without knowing how to cut it in the complete fashion. They just made it flat on the back, a few facets on the top, put foil behind it, and they had something more sparkly than they normally would. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what a window is, by the way. When you can look into a stone, it has the pavilion as well. You can see that, but look at how shallow the angle is, okay? So that really shallow angle that was cut at is what creates the window by causing the light to just go right out the back. Now, let me show you, compared to this stone, look at the depth of the pavilion, all right? And if we look at the depth of it, that allows the angles to be cut correctly, and boom, there is no window in that. And you have just nothing but a lot of life in it, a lot of brilliance. These are cut a little bit shallower, but again, that has a little bit of a window. Yep. Not quite as bad, but a little bit of a window. And then this one, you can see how shallow, again, the pavilion was cut, and there's a big old window right there. Big window in it right there. So the shallower, when it's cut that shallow, you're going to get a window because those facets are cut less than the critical, what's called the critical angle, causing the light just to bleed out the back. This one, that one's cut really well. All right. Obvious difference, $98 for this very fact and fun-filled combination of pink sapphire versus Podparacha. You make the call. All right, I'll be right back in a moment. Now, after a big chuckle with the guys, here we have something you haven't seen in a while. This is affordable first, because a lot of this material isn't. This is natural Turkish color change diaspora. And I use the word natural in with intention because, I was showing Raven a bag I have of what everyone would have thought were alexandrites. And everybody's mother, grandmother, aunt, whoever went to the Middle East and they brought back $1 million+ alexandrite. And the number of times I have heard that story when I had my retail stores and was showing genuine alexandrite, and they say, I'd be showing them a 1/2 carat stone, with a beautiful color change Brazilian stone, and it'd be $3,000, and they say, oh, my grandmother brought one of those back from Egypt, was the most common country, from Egypt in the 60s, and oh, it's probably, and they use their fingers and show me, and it would be like a 1/2 inch long, and they'd say, I bet that would be expensive. I say, yes, it would probably be in the Smithsonian and it'd be worth millions of dollars. And, they kind of look at me, really? I say, well, yes, if it was real, but I can assure you that it wasn't. And then I pull out my bag and, I pull out one and they say, yeah, it looks just like that. Then I'd show them the rest of the bag I had saved up over the years of these synthetic color change spinels that were sold over there still to this day to unknowing tourists, and they get ripped off. And yep, they have a color change and all, but it's nothing anywhere near what the alexandrite color change is. So I say that for the same reason. Anything of value can be marketed as something that it isn't, and there is other color change stones. If it's completely clean, start worrying about it. This stone has inclusions. If you know this material, you recognize the inclusions as classic diaspora inclusions. They tend to be elongated, going with the crystal. I've seen lots of crystals, I've seen lots of rough. Now, the other thing is the color change. The color change can vary, but normally it is like a lightish, yellowish type of color. Uh, it can go to a light strawberry, like a strawberry champagne. I guess I think is the term I used to use. From a kiwi green to a strawberry champagne. That would be the maximum color change. There is color changes that fall in between those, and we're actually going to show you that. So you have the yellow end of the color to this diaspora. Let me show you the other wavelength of light that gives you the alternative color. Look at that. There's your kiwi green. I actually am calling it kiwi cognac because depending on what angle you kind of look at it, it can look a little bit different. And then, boom. Isn't that amazing? I think that stuff's amazing. I love color change gemstones. And that one certainly does it. So the yellow end of it is where the little bit of pink or red is supposed to come through in that range of color, but it doesn't always. But again, it depends on the wavelength of light. Either way, it's not just a diaspora. It is a color change diaspora. It's actually well cut, as you can see, nicely cut stone. And because of the inclusions, it makes it affordable. This one is, again, an edgy gemstone, as you see. It's one, I made it and calling it that because it's affordable. You know, you don't want to buy educational gemstones and keep them in your collection if they cost a fortune. If they cost a fortune, maybe you want to make jewelry out of them or do something else. This is purposed so you have a reference stone. And every collection should have reference stones. So you can compare, and that's what I did. I compared the refractive index of this compared to other diaspora that I have and use for the purpose of that, and it nailed it right on, exactly right on for the refractive index, and then the color change. So this was actually in a parcel, and this is where it becomes important, of another exact same color stones with very similar inclusions. It was, I should have brought it just to show you because it was a really education, and they had traveled those two stones in the same parcel for many, 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 many years. It had come in an estate that I had gotten, and I just thought they both were the same. I thought they were actually yellowish tourmaline. So finally, I got around to it and looking at them. Well, I put them both on the refractometer. One was a 1.69 and the other was a 1.55. Huge, monstrous difference. And so, you know, quartz is 1.54. Beryl, you know, like golden beryl, is 1.57. 1.55, refractometer is accurate enough that it can easily discern a difference between 1.54 and 1.55, and especially if it's not constant, and it was. So I still have to figure out what this other yellow stone is. I think it's actually a scapolite. I think it's a scapolite. And yeah, so two very similar looking stones, but wildly different altogether. And that's why you, again, just can't go by color. Boy, did we learn a lesson last week with the green tourmaline, aka green zircon, that I had ended up trying to sell those three stones for $38 for all three. Multiple times. I kept dropping the price. No one bought them. They would have been worth that if they would have been three crystals of tourmaline, let alone beautiful faceted green tourmaline. But they ended up being green zircon. So I can make errors. I can assume, and that's where we go wrong. I assumed that this was the same stone as the other. The refractometer told me something different. So when I got looking closer, of course, it had all the tales of a beautiful, beautiful diaspora. That gem, believe it or not, $58. Yep, only $58. I said this was the day for learning and buying stones that'll help you learn. That's one of them. Item number 1269325. 1269325. And here is this is a rarity. This is, yeah, I know. Check this out. I'm going to keep them together in the parcel to start with. Look at this. Here is another collection of one particular gem. Look at that. You have your genuine pink topaz and your genuine imperial topaz. Pink and imperial are two different animals. Imperial topaz is basically your golden yellow topaz with pink in it. Pink topaz is just that, pink topaz, and valued completely separately, just like purple topaz, the most expensive color. So we have that. You've seen my tumbled imperial before. That is a imperial. It could have a little bit more sherry color tone to it, but in most cases, when you see imperial, which it would be even more expensive, it usually tends to run into that rich, rich, rich golden color. Now, these pinks, this particular one is worth the whole parcel. So expect to find inclusions in your pink topaz. This has one running down it, but it's the right type of inclusion. So I knew it was a topaz. Tested it, and yes, it was a topaz. Here is a lighter pink one, couple more inclusions. I just put it in with the parcel because it looked good with all three stones in it. I could sell it separately, but I thought, no. But look at that. Look at that one pink topaz right there. That's a money stone. That's a money stone in the market. The three stones together make a nice educational parcel. Because it tells you really what an imperial can look like or should look like, at least in that rich color tone, and what genuine pinks are and look like by way of the inclusions that they have in them. And also, if you have a refractometer, it gives you a reference for a refractometer. So, there is such a thing as red topaz. It is extreme. It's the most valuable color there is. Super, super valuable. Super, super rare. And yeah, I told you, or maybe you, I'll tell it another day, the story of my friend who actually the middle stone came from his mine, Bella Vista mine. And I'll tell it story real quick. Okay, this is a true story. So my friend Sergio, who actually knew Frank many, many, many years ago, and there's a whole story to that I'll tell you about. But Sergio, if you remember the story about the amethyst, this is the guy that was supposed to transport the amethyst for his uncle. I'll tell that story another day. It is even in a way better, yeah. Raven knows the story. So anyway, Sergio came to our store. He would come to the United States every like 3 months and sell his incredible emeralds and topazes. And he left the mine, his cousin in charge of the mine. And it's a a real mine, and the topaz came in a real friable kind of matrix. It just kind of crumbled away from it. While Sergio was gone, he found at his mine, it was about by way of his described to me with a finger length, around 3.5 inch long, crystal, perfectly clear of, I can't believe it, purple topaz. It was a rich purple pink. It was more purple than pink. It was one of the richest, wildest colors you could ever imagine. And he said, Shawn, he goes, this crystal at a bare minimum would be $500,000 wholesale. $500,000. He goes, it's once in a lifetime find for any Oro Preto topaz mine. It just, the kind of crystal you dream of is how he's telling this story. His cousin, thinking that he was minding the shop and doing a good job, decided not to tell his cousin who owned the mine, Sergio, what he had found. Instead, he thought he'd make him really proud and go out and sell it in the market and then tell him how much money he got for it. Yeah. Sergio knows all the dealers. So in the end, he knew exactly what his cousin had ended up selling. He saw it. $20,000. $20,000 is what he sold it for. The people took advantage of him. Sergio had no choice but to continue the sale. He did get to see it only long enough to see what his cousin completely dropped the ball on. And, there's lessons there, but, there's things you can't take back. He's not going to find another crystal. You can't kill your cousin, even though you might want to. And, he didn't leave him with enough orders. If you find a nice big crystal, save it for me. There could have been a list of instructions, and there wasn't as accurate because you did not expect to find something like that. You just don't expect it. So you don't say, hey, if you find a $500,000 crystal, wait until I get back. Yeah, doesn't happen. These set of 3, I have a great opportunity on, and that's only going to be, wow, $87. This is the day of deals. The day of deals, or the day of the dead. I think the two come together. I got to get going. I got a lot of cool stuff to show you. All right, next I have, this is a really cool piece. Item 1269625. 1269625. Wait till you see this. Now, this was a personal one we had for a long time, and we decided, well, we have another one we're still keeping, but this is a rarity. This is stunning, rare, Blue Forest, Wyoming, petrified wood. And this piece has everything you want for a Blue Forest piece of wood. The rare thing about Blue Forest is what happened is the trees fell down in a very heavily algae area. Okay, if you've ever been back in the corners or coves of a lake, you'll see a lot of branches just covered with algae. The water, very little movement, very little oxygen in the water. That's what it takes. So trees would fall into this area, one particular area of the Green River, for what is the Green River Formation now, and would quickly grow over or be coated with algae, right? So you had this coating of algae around the wood. As the lake dried up, okay, that algae cut off any oxygen, so the wood wasn't just going to decay. The algae formed on top of the wood. As time goes on, the wood desiccated, in other words, dried out. And when wood dries out, it shrinks. When it shrinks, it leaves a gap. It left a gap between the algae and the original wood. So that allowed chalcedony and calcite to make its way in. You can see the original branch, and then you can see chalcedony. Now, all the chalcedony is fluorescent, a chartreuse fluorescence. It's beautiful, as is calcite as well. You have a couple items that fluoresce magnificently. Now, this piece has the very desirable botryoidal formations of the chalcedony that formed in the gaps here, which is often you don't see. This is the petrified algae. So this is the petrified algae that covered the branch initially, and you can see that. So then when the wood dried up and shrank, it allowed a gap in between for the silica and calcite to fill those spaces in. Now look at that. Look at that. That is so cool. This is extra special because many of the pieces just have a core of wood and don't have all these other channels of material. So you have the beautiful chalcedony in here. Look at that. You have a perfect representation of the bark. That is, you want to see that. That is well preserved. And as you turn this piece, you can see other chalcedony that had formed right underneath the bark, in between the bark and the wood. When the wood dried out, so here is a better representation of the wood, all this will fluoresce. This is actually calcite. Here you have chalcedony, and you'll get worm borer holes from the edge. So you'll get little worms that you'll see trails left in it that have bored into the wood. Here you go. Here's a perfect area right here that shows you kind of how the wood will dry out, leaving gaps. And where look at the crystals in there. You can't see them, but they've grown together. This is one of the large pieces. It really represents the blue forest wood. This is extremely desirable when you have the chalcedony that is there we go. The chalcedony that is so largely developed in those botryoidal forms. You don't normally see that much of the chalcedony. All right, as we come back away from this piece, you can see just how large that is in my hand. It is gorgeous. It is gorgeous. And I have this one priced gorgeously as well. Wow, $88. Only $88. And I tell you what, that is amazing. I actually have, it's the Shinoxalan tree, which is known as the pepper tree. So we even know what type of tree that is. And the one end is polished for you, and it is fluorescent as well. If you look at it like that, that looks like a branch that just fell off in the backyard. Little do you know, it's 50 million years old. All right. Let me show you next. I have, item 126-8525. 126-8525. Let me show you a jewel. This is something you don't normally get to see, and it is impressive. We were talking about this earlier. Let me move this aside. I have a stunning, extremely large, look at this, ready, set, look at that. Look at that. Beautiful, beautiful rainbow moonstone. Look at the yellows and the blues in that. Look at how large it is. Here, natural, look at that. And this, I was trying to figure this out. This actually I was thought might be declosite, which is actually found with some of that material, but I couldn't say for certain. It could also be biotite mica, but declosite was, check it out if you want to, and see if I might be right on that. But look at the blue. Look at the blue on the back of this and the yellow. So this is both sides. Look at how large this is. That is extremely uncommon to have a gem quality moonstone that will cut like that. Look at that. Rare, rare, rare collector size. All you have to do, I'll drill it for free. If you want it drilled and a silver bale just put on it like that, that's like $50. $50 extra. If you want gold, it's more than that. But we can just do a work order on it, and I'll drill it for free for you. How's that? Price on this one, I'm sorry, at $20 a carat, this would truly be an $1,800 moonstone. And you know what? Go find another one. I went and did research, and I could not find any that were much bigger than about 20 carats. That is how uncommon this is. $20 a carat is what they were wanting for all sizes. 1 carat, 2 carat, 5 carat, and that was my cheapy place. And it was also material from India. This is a wonderful stone, easily worth that. But instead, only $144. What is that? About $1.50 a carat, $1.50 a carat. That is your one-time opportunity on it. Take advantage of it, because even if you do nothing else but display it as a, just in the display case, look at that. Look at that. How, you know what? I'll even include a stand with that. $144. Take advantage of it. Next, speaking of carving, 126-9825. 126-9825. I was thinking about you, Chuck, when I saw this, and because I kept it for the same reasons. How would you ever get a chance to carve an emerald crystal? Check this out. Look at this. This is a natural emerald crystal, and you can see it's partial. That helps keep the price down. Oh, a whole lot. Look at the colors in this. Let me bring this down to that. Look at that. This is a really rich green. I hope your TV screens are set right so you can see it. It's Bahia material, and it's perfect, perfect, perfect for carving. It is a rare size. Here's the interesting thing when I saw the break like that. Here's another little crystal growing right there. So Not quite sure if it was trying to repair itself or what, but here is a magnificent specimen as a partial emerald crystal to go with a barrel collection that you might have. A wonderful, wonderful opportunity and price as well. $68, $68 on that. And again, an excellent item to carve. Now, I am going to show you another beautiful piece. Item 1269525. 1269525. Here is your chance to get in on one of the oldest mines in the world. You know, I just was reading about the world's most valuable shipwreck, and it was a San Jose off of Cartagena off in Colombia, and it went down with 200 tons of gold against the British fleet, who, with the Spanish Succession, the War of Spanish Succession, they were in battle with. So think about this: off of Colombia, which is next to Venezuela, way down in the southern Caribbean. Spain, thousands of miles away, and England, thousands of miles away. Their ships are off the Cartagena port on the Gulf side and get into a battle. 5 ships against the 18 Spanish ships, laden with treasure. And the British ship only took 1 ship down, and it was the one holding the 200 tons of gold. That sucker sank like a rock because it was just full of nothing but gold. 1,800 feet deep. They only found it in 2015. And of course, the value of the gold, it's making money just sitting down there. And it's phenomenal how much gold, and also gemstones. And of course, there's a fight over who owns it. Spain is still trying to collect it, but they have pictures of it now from robots. And you know, it's not as easy as getting it from the Tocha, which you could dive down to, and they recovered all those bars by diving. You can't dive 1,800 feet deep, so it becomes a weight issue in recovering it. But I tell you, it would if I could swim down there, I'd be doing it, because wow, what a treasure. So I think about things like that when I think about the gold in my backyard. The creek treasure. Look at this. This is kept. This Spanish, well, used to be Spanish, mine going, real silver. Here it is. From Mexico, the thin white sheets in these blue-gray rock is silver. Rock is called bornite, and the silver has kept this mine running for over 400 years. Let me show you. This is a solid silver plate. This is all silver. Yeah, you ought to feel the weight. Yeah, the reflective portions you're seeing on it is the bornite. Now, bornite is often found with it. It's a copper iron sulfate. So it was named in honor of von Born, an Austrian mineralogist, in 1843. Chalcopyrite is a copper iron sulfide, so they're very similarly related, but there is a difference, especially in the color. But the iridescence is similar like chalcopyrite. This has some beautiful iridescence. I hope you can see it. It's purples and blues, but that is only a very surface coating. So the bornite is only on the surface. It's sitting on top of the silvers. Excuse me. Here is a little bit larger kind of area of silver. It's still bornite sitting on silver. You can see how these silver sheets would fill in between the fine cracks of the ore body. So that's how you end up with these beautiful, beautiful silver sheets like this. And this is it could, if you wanted to dip it, it could be cleaned up to be made brighter, but you would really want to leave it in its original oxidized state that it is. This is a really attractive piece. Oh, and it's one I decided I was going to give a stand with. So you know it's special. If I'm giving stands with it, it's a special item right there, because it really displays so well, especially with a card in front of it. There you go. Ready to go for your display case. Now, this is a fraction of what it would sell for in auction, especially with the value even of silver now. Only $138 on that piece, and that's a jewel waiting for someone to take advantage of. And if you collect ore minerals, like, well, anything to do with gold or silver, this would be a really good one to have because it represents a mine that was around 400 years ago. So you're talking about around the 1600s, you know, and this is some of where the wealth of Spain came from, was plundering the Central and South American mines. So, but Spain wasn't alone. Everybody was plundering the South American mines. Well, any of the conquerors at the time, such as France, England, and Spain for the most part. Portugal was too busy in Africa. I could go on and on. $138. Take advantage of that one. That is a stunning collector piece. Let me see how much. I got a few minutes of time left with you, so let me get to as many as I can here of some really nice collector pieces, especially discounted. Item number 1226824. 1226824. Look at this. Look at this. Here is those belemnites, which are a member of the cephalopod family, just like the ammonite. The ammonite is. And this had little tentacles that came out this end. This is one of the nicest ones I had. That's right, because this has where the soft tissue of the animal, in other words, its guts, were in this part. And many times that's filled with a clay or other similar material. So for that not to be filled like that, that's kind of cool. And these, look at the fire in this. So these opalized over time, roughly, you know, and the belemnite became extinct with the extinction of the dinosaurs. This has, it's crystal opal. You can see greens and blues and oh, there's some reds up there and oranges and other fantastic colors. Take advantage of this one. This is one of the nicest ones of all of them because look at that. You can see the inner portion of it, which is rare to find one like that. Look at that. So this could be made into a wonderful drop pendant or left like it is, a stunning specimen with beautiful, beautiful natural colors of opal like that. That is a real collector's piece. I have this sale priced right now. I am making it a opportunity of only $118. $118. That is a special, special price. Now, I know that is that is really a good value. Now, let me see here what I have. I have, looking into this magic goodie bag. What does this say? Oh, yes, check this out. This is item number 1188870. No, excuse me, 24. 1188824. Check this out. Look at this. Goshenite. Goshenite is clear beryl without any other color. And beryl being allochromatic, meaning it gets its other colors, any colors that it has from impurities in it. So the rarest color in beryl and tourmaline is actually the clear form of it, whether it be acroite for tourmaline or Goshenite, named after Goshen, Massachusetts, where it was first found, believe it or not. That's kind of wild. And look at this. So you have a little additional crystallization down here. You have muscovite, well-formed, look at that, well-formed crystals there. And you can see the crystalline shape to it right there. This is a, look at that, like facet grade material or close to it. Certainly very valuable specimen material. And let me see this right behind, put the light. Look at that. Look at, you can see that. That absolutely is colorless. Very rare. I have this sale priced right now. An incredible discount on this piece, which it shouldn't be at all. I'm going to make that only, that's the final price, $48 on that. Only, I know, $48. After that, that goes back to the home collection. Let me show you this next piece. This is item 1264525. 1264525. And to me, this is one of the prettiest recent kind of discoveries in a crystal specimen that has a neat history as to how it was discovered, and is also the crystal that can be found in grave sites, because it is one that is made and combines iron and phosphates and oxygen, often found in old tombs. Look at this. Look at this. So this is, let me get some, here we go. Vivianite. And from Amazonas, the Amazon basically. And let me backlight this a little bit so you can see some of where is these incredible colors in this. There we go. Look at the greens. This is wow. And there'll be blues in this. As you can see, it all depends on the angle that this is, and that it's viewed at. And then look at the siderite. You have these siderite, which is an iron carbonate, siderite formations on this. This formed in little pods, little pockets that were oxygen starved. And the material is actually clear until it's pulled up out of the ground, and then it instantly oxidizes into these greens and blues. Let me try to show you some other colors in this. And look at that. In this one view, you can see blues and you can see the greens in this. It's just too soft to facet. Other than that, it certainly has some of the beautiful colors. And look at that green and blue in the one picture frame right there. This is a very attractive specimen as a crystal goes. And then this is what's unique about this. This has the ludlamite, the only other mineral that's really, besides the siderite, found with it. Look at that. That is a crystal of ludlamite with it. And then there's one more. Look right down there. So you have that lighter greenish yellow crystal. So this represents everything that's found in the those little pockets that were found in a little bog off of a tributary of the Amazon River. Look at that beautiful greens in that. I have a sale price on this one right now. It's really probably, with everything else, the nicest one I have. And right now I have this one discounted. Let's go on a crazy sale price for this. It's going to be only $88. $88. I need tooth money. So, yep, $88. Chuck, I think you got a couple minutes. So with that, let me show you. Oh, yes, I forgot these last week. This can probably be the last item of the show. This is item number, oh boy, item number 1266525. This is a multiple. That means we have something for everybody. Something for everybody. I have had these. These are some of the highest quality ones I have ever had. And let me show you what I am talking about here. We're going to move that. We're going to move this. Look at these. Look at these spheres. Now, that is fun stuff. Look at these. And now these are rock crystal. Rock crystal is a type of quartz. It gets that designation when it is a really clear, high quality grade of quartz. In other words, very few inclusions. And this certainly fits that description. And some of these, if they do have inclusions, will have some wonderful irises in them. That one certainly might. But the difference is the quality. These are really, really clean for spheres. And they just vary slightly in size. Pick up as many as you want out of these. I am selling these individually at a deep discount to what I had priced these for in the past. Now, I haven't sold any of this type of quality. There's 12 of them total. And I tell you what, I don't have any stands, but you can just use little gem tubes or come up with like those little washers like I did. Get as many. I'm gonna discount the price even more so, because let me sell all 12 of those. Let's do this. I'm gonna make those. You see the size of them in my hand? They're big. $14 each. Only $14 each. And in the world of spheres are expensive. Any kind of sphere. And so in the world of spheres, that is cheap. If you, you can give them for that kind of money as stocking stuffers. You can give them to your grandkids. You can give them to, all kinds of people to have fun with, or bring them into the gem and mineral community through the fun of giving them something they can relate to, something like a big marble, something to play with. Okay, let's see. I have one last moment with you, and that brings me to this last item. It is item 1240 424. 1240 424. And this is something you need for educational purposes. And Tanzanian rhodolite, but this is the rhodolite with the purple in it, not the red rhodolite. This is the color that you need to use for your rhodolite comparisons for what it should do. These are also going to be magnetic, so they will be drawn to a magnet, as it should be, because remember, rhodolite is made up of pyrope, which is a magnesium garnet, and at least 30% almandine, which is your iron garnet. These rhodolite go for a lot of money anymore, but I have these specially priced, and today really specially priced. 4.70 carat total weight. They are calibrated 8x6s. Let's make them only $47. $10 a carat. There are a lot of people selling that material for a lot more money, and probably would not like to see me pricing it like that. But hey, I've got teeth I need, right? Shoes, children to feed. I got the ravens. She needs her bird seed. Literally, she loves to feed the birds, and her bird seed, the amount she buys costs a lot. That's going to do it. I hate to go. I need to let Chuck, though, get back to work. And not that this wasn't, but compared to other things he does, this is probably a little bit more fun.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, as he says. And
yes.
Say hi to Corduroy for us. Everybody knows a little Corduroy, our little 6-year-old buddy. Who is a rising rock pup to a rock hound. Keep on encouraging him. He'll get there. So thank you, Mr. Chuck, and I will be back in a moment. Wow. Okay. So Latif said I showed a bunch of items. I didn't show as many items as I wanted to, or as I was prepared to, but I do know 20 of the items were items you had never seen before. And so I want to know where I need to be. If I need to show lower priced items, or I need to show higher priced items, help me out. Shawn at gems.com. That's all it takes. Shawn at gems.com. Like the 12 multiple spheres I just offered at a super price, rock crystal quality. I've had those, but unless, someone asked for them or something, I never showed them before. But I thought, okay, well, let me do a multiple. Let me see if, I can get 12 people to buy one $14 item, and it takes me a few seconds to present it, because you all know about rock crystal spheres. I don't know. Help me help you to improve the show, and to so I can continue to be here to bring you items like the Belky's Mountain Green Demantoid Garnets, those wonderful androdites. So I'm here for my enjoyment, because I love my hobby and my passion. But what keeps me here is for all of you to support the show. So like and subscribe. I see we're approaching 11,400 subscribers now. That's fantastic. wasn't long ago we hit 10,000, and it was at that point that I learned I was supposed to be saying like and subscribe. Never up until that point had I done that. Amazing, huh? When that's all you hear now on these other podcasts is like and subscribe, like and subscribe. Stop you all the time. If I stop, you won't get that here. But I will beg of you every now and again to to buy something. And for those of you who have not made a purchase in a while, please consider doing so. I think there's some many opportunities for you to get in on some good deals. So do consider that. Trivia is not gone forever. It's just on pause, and you never know when I will do a pop quiz or a what am I. So keep continuing to take your notes. Keep trying to recall what you see and learn from the many words that I end up speaking. I just told Latif, I said, at some point, one of these days, I am going to try to just show the items without talking about every single one. But the passion in me overrides that little switch in my head, and I end up just sharing everything I can, or different stories, or going off on tangents because it reminds me of something that happened, all those kind of things. So anyway, I hope all of you have enjoyed the show as much as I enjoy sitting here presenting it to you. Please continue to support the show, like and subscribe, and I love you whether you do or not, and I will be here for you. If there's something you want to let me know or talk about, just send a comment, Shawn@gems.com. And I'll happily and can't wait to see you next Monday. Thank you.